Hey, everybody. Sorry I'm late. Greg Ward just got done beating me at a three-point contest. Not too happy about it. So, here now, though. Sorry about that.
Hey, Coach. Thanks for taking the time today. We'll get started here with Dave Zangaro and Ruben Frank.
Hey, Nick. Now that you've been the head coach through at least some voluntary practices, how is it going for you personally? And are there things that are maybe different than you anticipated?
Yeah, being out there as the head coach, again, every little step that I've made in my career, whether it was the ball boy when I was real young, or not, even before that, just playing around at practice, at my dad's practices, or the ball boy, or a player, a backup player, then a starter, right? Every little step, a quality control, a position coach, right? There's a change every little time you go through something like that, right, Dave? And so, it's just a matter of it's still football practice, and it's just your responsibilities change. So it's just handling those responsibilities. Of course, it's different being in charge of the entire team as opposed to just the offense, or as opposed to just a position group. So a little bit of adjustment, but it's still football practice. It's still working on getting guys better every single day, and I feel like I've adapted well.
Go ahead, Rube, and then Rob Motti.
Hey, Nick, I was wondering what you want these guys to do over the next 6 or 7 weeks before camp. Do you want them getting away from football mentally? Do you want them staying in the books? What's your approach as far as between now and camp?
Yeah, that's a great question, Rube. What we talked about, I kind of ended our last day out there today with my message of the three things that I kind of wanted them to do here, and continue to create good habits. Right, and so when we talk about our habits, I just told them this. I told them, our habits are our core values. It's connecting. Continue to find ways to connect with guys. Continue to find ways to compete with guys, right? Or compete. And really, when you're by yourself at times, when you're working by yourself as a football player in that summertime before the fall season starts, it's how do you compete with yourself? I talked about accountability to them, and accountability is not going to show up you're not going to go out there every day and someone's going to be asking you what they do, but it's the day over and over and over again, each day in and out. If you do what you're supposed to do each day in and out, that's going to show up when comes time for the fall. And I just encourage them, to get in the books. The football IQ is so important, to get in the books, to watch the tapes over again from our practices, and to watch the installs over again. And then when you're out in the field, work on those fundamentals that we talked about. The other thing we talked about, so my message was create good habits, or continue to practice good habits, stay out of trouble, and then be ready to come into camp in the best physical shape of your life, all right? Because when you're in the best physical shape of your life, now your football IQ and your fundamentals can really show. So that was my message, Rube, to those guys, and what I want them to work on in their offseason now, or in the summer. Now, a lot of guys have different routines. That's going to look different for each guy, because a lot of guys have been playing football for a long time and they have their routine. Maybe they need to get away for a week. Yes, so, with that, how that goes is up to each individual player.
Go ahead, Rob, and then John McMullen.
Hey, Nick. Andre Dillard spoke very thoughtfully yesterday about how being off social media has kind of helped him. I talked to Jalen Rieger about it last year, and he had similar thoughts about social media. How do you caution these guys about being sure to take care of their mental health? And for you, how does the social media factor into it?
Yeah, that's a great question, Rob. Obviously mental health is so important, and it's so important that they're in the right space. My message has always been hey, our job as coaches and our job as players is to get better every single day. I'm telling you, that is all I believe in. It's how do we get better every single day? Because when you take care of the process every single day, then the results will come, right? And everything like that. The play time, the wins, the losses, everything will go off of if you got better every single day. We explain that to them, like, you're going to get better every single day by getting better at those core values that we talked about every day. Those are the things that we've kind of pinpointed of that's what makes you a better player. It's what distractions are out there. And then you got to talk about what distractions are out there that are going to stop that progress of every single day getting better, just being I like to say it this way, being obsessed with getting better, being absolutely obsessed with getting better. What are those things that are out there? And it's different for everybody, right? I'm not going to go into every single one that we talk about, but social media is one. And that might not be everybody's crutch. I don't have Facebook. I don't even know what the ones are all called. But everybody's distractions look a little different. So it's identifying what your distraction is and trying to put those aside because, and my message has been, you're willing to do so many things to become a better football player, right? What you put in your body, how you work out, the sacrifices that you give, right, to be a good football player are almost endless. So if a distraction to you is social media and you feel like you got to give that up, you're doing all these other sacrifices, why not make it that as well? So I think that, that Andre is aware of what his potential distractions are. That's the first step, right? Being aware of what is going to stop you from getting better every single day. So I heard about that and his comment there, and I was really excited for him that he's figured out what his distraction is.
John and then Les.
Hey, Nick, kind of following up on Rube's question, when guys go off for the summer, a lot of guys work out on their own. A lot of guys work with sort of personal trainers, personal coaches, could be quarterback, could be footwork, offensive line, pass rushers, sort of this cottage industry. I'm curious how you and your staff kind of approach that because maybe guys have different teaching methods. Do you impart something to different players and say, this is what you got to work on with your, personal tutor or whatever?
Of course, yeah. So I think, a lot of the times those personal guys that they have, it's like having a coach right there on the field with them, right? And the guys are savvy enough, and what's cool about the NFL is that you work together. Like we work together to get better, right? We work together on those fundamentals to get better. And so, some of the best things I've learned as a coach is from different players, right? And so, again, you're working together with them, and so there's different ways to do it. So, yes, they know what our coaching points are, but we're not stubborn in the sense of, hey, that coaching point's pretty good too. Yeah, I like that. Like, that's good coaching is when you learn from other people and not being too egotistical or stubborn to say, my way's the only way to do it. So, love when they work with guys and they come back with new thoughts, but when we come back and we come back together, we'll see if we all agree on those new thoughts again. So, when they're working and they're working hard, that's what it's about. The biggest thing is that they're working hard at their craft.
Go ahead, Les, and then Zach Berman.
Hey, Nick. So you went through this. You're done now to camp, and you didn't get to do real 7-on-7 or 11-on-11. What don't you know that you would like to know at this point? And how did you feel about the process of working around the restrictions that were in place?
Yeah, good question, Les. Yeah. I'll say about what we do know, right? We're able to really dive into the fundamentals of how guys work. Like it's rare to have as much individual time at this time of year as we had each and every day. And so we were really, and that's where, and that to me, like what they do and how they mature as a person, how they mature in the weight room, and how they mature in their fundamentals are the three major growths that a player makes. And then it's about us as coaches putting them in the right spots to let those talents shine. So, what we did find out is what guys need to work on as far as their fundamentals go, and what they're really good at as far as their fundamentals go. And so that was the development there, so and what we kind of figured out. Sure, we didn't get to see 7-on-7 and things like that, but what we did in team drills, but what was great this year, Les, was that this is what it felt like this year. Last year you had none of this, right? Everybody was on the same playing field, you had nothing. So it felt like, this is what it felt like to me, and I know it felt like this to a lot of our coaches, that every correction we made or every praise that we made, like even from walkthrough or from individual drill, it was so exciting to make that. Like, we're just that much further ahead starting camp. We're going to be just that much further ahead, and that's 3 weeks of correction and praise when it's done the right way. And like, that's what was so exciting to me. So a lot of great work was done, and we got a lot more to learn, right? We got a lot more to learn. Your point was very, very good point, and we got a lot more to learn, but we know a lot and about what our guys can do right now, and still learning more.
All right, thank you.
Zach and then Tim McManus.
Hey, Nick, as a follow-up to that, what did you learn in dealing with some of the veterans in finding that compromise for the off-season program? And as far as building these relationships, the connections with these established leaders, was that process beneficial?
Yeah, I think just getting them in the building was beneficial so we could connect together, right? And we just got great leaders on this team. And there's no surprise that this organization has won a lot of football games in this past decade, right? It's an amazing group of guys, and a lot of these guys have been here for a while. So it's been great getting to know these guys in person, right? It's different in Zoom, right? I look forward to getting to know you guys in person a little bit more. But when you get to see them every day on the field, in the meeting room, like that's different. That's different to walk into the meeting room and talk to them about their family and smack their hand and say what's going on. That was different. So it was good just to get around those guys and build those connections like you're talking about, Zach. It really was. And, it was not wasted time. We had great competition, connection. Everything we talk about was just 3 hard weeks of that. And then also the additional, I believe it was 4 weeks virtual before that.
Tim and then Mike K.
Nick, we got to look at some of those competitions that you put in around practice. Could you rattle off some others that maybe we weren't able to see, some highlights from those competitions, and also the why behind it?
Sure. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. The why behind it is if you practice competing, you're going to get better at competing. Right? And this is such a cutthroat business. This is such a cutthroat business, right? There's guys constantly coming in for their jobs. It's all about the wins and losses, and the games are tight. The parity's tight. So all these games come down to one score, right? There's constantly a guy coming in for your job, so you're fending off a guy to take your job. So just like we practice on offense inside zone, or we practice on defense over cover 3, we got to practice competing as well. Right? I kind of think about it like, why am I competitive? Why had 2 older brothers beat the crap out of me all the time, and I had to be competitive, and I wanted to be competitive, and my dad made me be competitive. So, there has to be something to that, and I've always thought that. So, when you practice competing, just like you practice those plays, you're going to get better and better and better at it. And so that's the main philosophy behind it. And so some of the competitions that we did today was, what was great about today was we were competing. Like I said to you right before I got in here, I shot 3-point baskets. Not well enough because Greg beat the crap out of me. All right, but I shot baskets with him. We just practiced competing, right? We just shot 3-point shots. He's a great shooter, just so you guys know, right? And so that's one. But, the things that we did in front of the team, was they practiced their skill and their craft, right? So it was what you guys saw, I believe, were the DBs doing a backpedal drill against each other and racing each other. So they had to do this drill with precision, great fundamentals, and intensity, great speed, like the game is going to be. So, yes, we have fun doing the basketball shoots and this and that, but today was awesome because it was DB versus DB, and you were racing and seeing who was faster at what you need to do to be good at a game. Devontae and Travis went against each other, and they threw the ball on the green ball machine that we had. The running backs, Boston and Kenny, went later in a jugs machine, right? The defensive line, Josh and BG, they raced against each other in a fundamentals drill, right? And so and we just kept doing different things to one, can make them compete, and then also the precision and the intensity of the position drills that they were doing. And, the other things we've done is I have a ping pong table in our meeting room. So Dallas played ping pong at the end of a meeting right before we broke the meeting, ready break. Hey, before we go out to walk through and before we go out to practice, y'all compete. And Dallas, Eric Wilson might not want me saying this, but Dallas whooped up on Eric in a game of ping pong. So, and the person that's incredible, right, now you guys got me talking about it a little bit, but the person that's incredible that doesn't lose at anything is Jake Elliott. He's phenomenal at everything, right? He can play ping pong, he can throw the ball, he can kick, right? I haven't seen him shoot a basketball yet, but that's the philosophy and that's the why. And it is it's the two major things that we talked about. Again, getting better at what you do in your craft and then practicing competing.
Mike and then Jeff McLean.
Hey, Nick, it's well documented that you have a really young staff, but that kind of allows you guys to take part in drills with the players. You've been involved in drills, Nick Rallis, Aaron Moorhead. We could all see that. Why is that important for you guys as coaches, and why is that important for players as well?
I don't know how fast I'm doing these drills, all right? And I'm not wearing spikes out there anymore, but that's a good observation. And I just know how I learn. I'm a very visual person. And the guys that have the the ability to learn audio, that's amazing to me. But I'm very visual. And I feel like the guys, and it's not everybody, but I feel like a lot of the guys that I've coached have been very visual. So when you're able to move your body the way you want it to move to demonstrate a drill, like if I'm a quarterback holding the ball in the right particular spot, turning my body the way I want to throw it, if I'm able to do that like Brian does and Shane does, or if I'm able to get down into my break like a receiver does or Gannon does or DK or Denard Wilson, when they demonstrate, like that is a huge advantage because now you almost have you can show them what you want instead of tell them, right? And that is big. That's what I was taught as an education major back at Mount Union College about find different ways of how people learn and adapt to them. And it's just been my experience that's how people learn. So I think that's a big benefit that we have.
Go ahead, Jeff and Rob Kessner.
Nick, do you know how many padded practices you'll be allowed when training camp begins? And if so, how many do you plan on having? And when the players are wearing the full pads, will you have live hitting and tackling drills? Yeah, we're still working through that. We are still working through all that. But I got a great staff to work through that with. Jamal, our running back coach, Jamal, Kevin Patullo, Ted Rath. We're working together as a group. John Ferrari, again, we're just working together as a group to find out what works best for us. So that's an ongoing conversation of what we have. But when we're able to have the pads on, we're going to have the pads on because that's how football's played. And so we're looking forward. That's when you can tell a lot. We're just in shorts out there right now, but you can tell a lot about how a football player is when you put those pads on because that's how the game's played. So we'll definitely utilize that. I'm sure there'll be a period here and there where we're going live to the ground. That's still to be determined. That hasn't been my experience in the past, to be honest with you. It's been limited there, and I do believe in that for different reasons. That we don't go live to the ground. Here and there we will, but not overly done. So that's as much as I can answer that question right now.
Go ahead, Rob, and then Bo.
Hey, Nick, welcome to Philadelphia. I haven't had a chance to say hello since you got hired. So the question that I have for you is about the preseason. And specifically, you mentioned putting on the pads and getting a chance to see what guys can actually do when they're in them. A year ago, there were no preseason games. So I'm wondering what your experience was in losing preseason a year ago. And then this year, how do you plan to approach preseason games? I mean, in terms of veteran play, in terms of young guys, you're implementing a new system. So how do you approach that?
Yeah, that is a phenomenal question. That really is a great question. And we've talked through that of what we think it's going to look like as far as how many series of starters are going to play, game 1, game 2, game 3, how many practices we're going to have with other teams, et cetera. And so I just don't want to give that answer though yet because things constantly change and we're constantly talking about it. And so, I just have this great group of guys to be able to talk through these things with a phenomenal experience. And so not going to give that answer, but there's been a lot of thought to it. And we definitely love the fact, I will say this, we love the fact that this year we're able to have preseason games, right? And we're able to have practices against other teams because you know, that's huge. I've always thought that that's so important when sometimes when those lights come on, it's a little different for some guys, right? And you want everyone to be a really good practice player, right? That's what you're striving for. That's what we're demanding as a coach. But sometimes it's just, man, the lights come on and there's a couple guys that just do something a little different where you're like, wow. So we missed that a little bit last year, and I'm really looking forward to getting that back this season.
We have time for a few more, so we'll go to Bo, EJ, and then Martin.
Curious what you learned about Jalen Hurts that you didn't know before after getting a chance to work with him on the field.
Yeah, you know, I just thought that Jalen he is a relentless worker. He is a relentless worker. He comes to work every single day with the intent to get better every single day. And, like, I just saw, even from the Zoom meetings that when we got in, I just saw him take command of the offense and really just take command of the offense and was just on it. You ask him a question, he's on it. And it's really translated into walkthroughs on the field and in drill work. And so really impressed with his command, his attention to detail, his work ethic. He's got all those intangibles right there, and I was really impressed with that from him. And then, you know, and then just on the field, you know, he's just got a really compact throwing motion where he can get it out with ease, and super athletic. And when he's throwing on the run and moving and reading the defense, and so really, really pleased with a lot of things that he did.
Go ahead, EJ.
Hey, Nick, I wanted to ask you about the interior line guys. You know, obviously you had Quentin in Indianapolis and you have Brandon and Jason here. How important are those guys to your offense? And also, I mean, what have you learned about Brandon and Jason so far?
Yeah, so important, so important. You know, it feels like, you know, I'm with my brothers talking about their good teams when they've had good teams, and we're talking about the teams I've been on that have been good, and it's the common denominator always is like, did you play good on the O and the D line? It always is coming to, were they good on the O and D line? Like, and I know my dad talks about that, like when we were talking about a team from the area. Hey, did Jamestown High School win? Nah, they lost. They're just not as good on the O and D line this year. It's like, it doesn't matter what level of football. And so when you got the guys in the room like we have, like, gosh, these guys are special in the interior. And I'm talking about the entire, I know you asked about the interior, but it's a special group of 5, 6, 7 guys. It's not like usually when you say that, it's like it's a special group of 5 guys. But here it's like it's a special group of 7, 8 guys, and they got a phenomenal coach and Coach Stout. I mean, he's unbelievable. And so just to be around Brandon and Lane and Jason and Isaac and Andre and Jordan, like every single day, Jack Driscoll, like those guys, they come to work every single day. They're ready to work every single day. They love football. I love that about guys. They're ultra tough. I can't wait to see them every single day with pads on and how even more tough they are. So, yeah, again, no surprise how many games the Philadelphia Eagles have won in the past because they've always had good offense and defensive lines.
All right, last one here from Martin.
Hey, Nick. I was wondering if you can kind of tell us, you know, which of the young players, the first or second year players who kind of stood out to you during these spring drills? I mean, I know obviously you didn't do the full team stuff, but if any of those guys kind of stood out for you going into, you know, training camp and everything.
Yeah, I just saw a lot of guys out there really working on those fundamentals, really working at their craft as being a football IQ, holding each other accountable, connecting with each other, competing with each other. And I don't want to single anybody out. It's just because there were so many guys that were working together. And I know that's typical. I do know that's typical of a new staff. They want to impress, right? These guys are, well, I'm eager to impress my bosses, and they're eager to impress us. And so it just was over and over again. I just felt like there was such good work by all the guys. Again, Jake Elliott could just do so many things, right? He's just a phenomenal ping pong. Don't play him at ping pong. So it was just a lot of great work by our guys, and it was a good starting point to kick us into the training camp.
All right, thank you for your time today, Coach.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great summer.